Put on your helmets, this is going to be a bumpy one. Hi, this is Todd, and this is the Ninja V. This is going to be a mini review. I'm doing a very full, extensive user experience / review video, and it was supposed to be out this week, but to be honest, I just have so much more footage from the Ninja V than I thought, and editing it is going to take some time, so I want to give you my initial impression right now. This is not going to be so much about technical specs. I'm going to try and give you some tips, things that I've learned using the Ninja V. If you don't know by now, the Ninja V is a 5-inch recorder monitor with an amazingly nice screen. It's 1080p, and it's a beautiful image. It has so many features, professional features and just friendly features. It has LUTs. It lets you load your own LUTs in there. It comes with a few LUTs loaded onto it. So as you can see, you're able to get a little bit more detailed image, more colorful, more impacting, something really beautiful to look at while you're filming when you're filming flat. Most people doing professional work will want to film flat because it gives you the most latitude in editing. This lets you do that, but also kind of get a finished product view so you're not bored to death while you're filming, or so that your clients don't look at your video and say, why is that so boring? This shows them something really beautiful. Okay, and it also has a lot of custom settings. It has histograms, it has vector scopes, it's got peaking, it's got audio levels, so it has false color, it has a blue only channel, which really helps you look at where the noise is so you can try and dial it down. There's just so much in here. It has the ability to record up to 60 frames per second in 4K, doing either ProRes or Avid DNG. So there's options there for different editing systems. This was sent to me by Atomos, by Isagi Yutaka of Atomos, and I want to thank you very much, Isagi-san. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. This is not a paid endorsement. I was not paid for this. I did an interview with another Yutaka Aritomi of Atomos. Arigatou gozaimasu. And after the interview, about maybe a month later, I asked for, if it's possible, to do testing with the Ninja V using my G7 camera. I really wanted to see what that camera could do during the Sakura season here. And so a day later, this arrived at my door, and one more day later, I got some SSDs from them and some other things, extra batteries, all kinds of goodies. And I've had this longer than I was supposed to. Originally, it was a 3-week period. It got extended to 5 weeks, and I'm later than that. It's gone beyond that. I want to say again, arigatou gozaimasu. Gomen nasai, sumimasen. It's just so much to take in with this Ninja V unit. There's so much that I haven't been able to do before, and I'm very much a visual person, and being able to visualize so much better than I can with the flip-out LCD screen, which is nice on this camera, but this is just so much better and lets me really see what I'm doing, and has made me more of a perfectionist. So let's get to what they sent me here. So obviously the Ninja V here, which was apparently, if you can read Japanese, for the president, presumably of Atomos. And Atomos also sent me a total of 3 batteries, the 1 battery on the top and 2 more batteries here. They sent me a USB docking station. It has a USB 3.0 and a regular USB that you plug in your computer, and it loads them faster than if you were to plug the SSD directly into the computer. And a lot of people have laptops and don't really have access to their hard drive ports. I do have access, and I will say this is faster, about probably 30% faster. That being said, I've had some issues with this, I believe, either this or the hard drives. It seems to me, I'm figuring this out, that something to do with this does something weird to the hard drives where they start not working as consistently. I've had trouble rebooting, and the SSD is not recognized on the Atomos. I have to keep turning it off, turning it back on. Eventually it gets recognized. It works fine after that, but it's a bit of a pain. This little guy here is my really old, probably like 8 years old, silicone power 60 gigabyte SSD. With this at high quality ProRes, I only get about 7 or 8 minutes. But this one hasn't failed me. Every single time I turn it on, it works. So the Atom X, maybe it's the units they've sent me. Maybe they've been around the block a few too many times during demos and during reviews like this. But for whatever reason, both Atom X SSDs they sent me have had some issues. They do work and record fine when they're working. But one of them didn't get recognized on the computer, and I almost had to send it back to Atomos to get it recovered. I finally, with some recovery software, fixed it. That's all in my big review. So in addition to the docking station, the batteries, I got a charger from Atomos with an adapter to plug it in. Something that's really nice is that this adapter also plugs in. If you take out the battery, there is a port to plug this in, so you can power this from the wall. If you're filming indoors all day, you can keep this on all day. A little bit of a warning, this thing does get hot, especially outside. Like right now, it's been on for quite a while. It's okay. It's warm. It's very warm, bordering on hot. When I film outside in bright sun on hot days, this thing is pretty much burning my hands. I have to kind of not touch it for too long. That's the reality, okay? It's an aluminum body, so metal heats up, and it also helps dissipate the heat. So it's done so that you can have this in such a small package. They're pushing the limits of what you can do with processing power in such a small package. It's got a fan on top here, which is audible, but you know, I have to get about this close to hear it. It's not really audible any further away. On my rig, I usually have the microphone, which I'm using right now, over here, and the Ninja V sits over here. I've been using this, obviously, with a tilted G2X gimbal here, a G7 camera, Panasonic DMC G7. It's a little bit older, but it does extremely good 4K, has extremely good low light capabilities, and is a really interesting pair with this. Highly recommend this camera. You can get it pretty cheap on the used market. I also used a Focus One follow focus system from Pilotfly during the end of the review period. I do have some shots from that, but not enough. I wish I could do more. I'm gonna buy a Ninja V. It's just too useful to not have in my arsenal. Now getting into some of the more useful things they sent me. They also sent me this awesome little dummy type plug that goes into your battery slot and has the same connector here. And actually, excuse me, this is how you have to put this in and then connect it. Excuse me, there's not a port in the Atomos. You have to use this dummy plug. But I do believe this comes stock with the Ninja V. What is awesome about this dummy plug is that if you have something like this, so I'm a drone builder, and you know, I have a lot of drones laying around. This is a little FPV drone. I believe that this adapter was for goggles or for a monitor for racing drones. I'm not sure, actually. I've got a lot of drone bits. But this, actually, one of these three plugs in perfectly, okay? I didn't want to chance plugging it into the Ninja V and blowing it, but this is clearly labeled on the back and on the front as 6.2 volts to 16.8 volts, which would mean a 3-cell battery, a 4-cell battery. You could almost get away with a 5-cell battery. I highly recommend you research on this before taking my word for these things, but I would also recommend using a low C rating battery so you don't risk giving this too much juice and blowing it. I happen to have a fairly large low C rating 3-cell battery here. It's been beat up. It's taken some crashes. It's a little bit puffy, and it still works though. It's not overly puffy in my opinion. So this 3-cell battery has a 10 cc rating. So this is a 5200 mega amp battery, which on paper is the same as this, except for this is 7.2 volts, 7.4 volts, which means it's a 2-cell battery. This is a 3-cell battery. So it's 33% larger, essentially. And it has a slow, because of the low C rating, I don't know what the C rating would be on this. That's not how they usually do it on these. But it gives you it should give you a very long time. I haven't had time to test and see how long I can get away with this. And again, I didn't really want to test this on the Ninja V and risk blowing it up, but I happen to have this beautiful little unit, very old LED light, which I did test with the Ninja V batteries, which are the Sony type and do very, very snugly. Very snugly. I swear they fit. They fit in here, and as you can tell, they power this on. So I didn't want to take a chance because, you know, there's always a potential for polarity being different. I would rather take a risk of blowing up my LED light than the Ninja V. I paid $20 for this used, I believe. So with that in mind, I put this in here, plugged it in, voila, it works. So after that, I felt confident enough that I did try it on the Ninja V, and it worked fine. It even seemed to start up quicker. It didn't have any heat issues, and maybe even a little bit cooler. It was running a little bit cooler. So that's an option, but again, please research it. Don't take my word for it. Don't say I broke your, your Ninja V. You need to research this stuff, okay? I've spent years building drones, and I still get nervous when I build drones because things do blow up sometimes. So don't blow up your Ninja V and blame me. Please talk to Atomos, ask them which batteries, if any, are okay. Research. Know what you're doing before you risk damaging. In the US market, $650 to $700 unit, 6.2 volts to 16.8 volts. It's also marked on the Ninja V, so that means you have a wide range of power you can use in the Ninja V, which is interesting because I have this little power bank, which is a fairly new one, and it outputs, I believe it's between 5 volts all the way up to 9 volts. Now I would need to find some sort of adapter that would work to plug in there, but in theory I could plug the Ninja V into this, which, removing the battery, doesn't that just look so pretty on the back there? It's just the right size. Maybe use some double stick tape to hold it on there or something, but that would be a really interesting option. And this one is 10,000 milliamp hours, I believe, 10,400 milliamp hours. So that would give me a really interesting double lifespan, basically, over one of these batteries, and they weigh about the exact same. And I like the slim form factor. It would give me a lot more ability to keep it small on this rig. So let's clear some things off here. So lastly, I just want to say you also are going to need definitely something like this with the Ninja V, unless you're mounting it directly on top of a camera or have a hot shoe adapter. For example, I can mount this right here on this hot shoe, but this gimbal will actually hit right there, the Ninja V, which is not so good. So you need something like this. Some of them screw on this end. This one clamps on, which I really like because I can actually clamp to this like so, or other things. There's other ways I can clamp this on. There's several different points on this gimbal setup that I can clamp onto, but basically I can put the Ninja V off to the side, have a little bit more room, rotate this, well, rotate this depending on the position of the sun. It just gives me a lot more usability. So the other thing you're definitely going to need is an HDMI cable. Now this HDMI cable I bought at a thrift store for, I believe, just $5, 500 yen anyways. And what I really like about this one is it's super thin and flexible. I bought a coiled one originally for it, but what I didn't like about the coil one is it, it kind of got kinky, but also it sits on this side of the camera, and the coil itself is fairly heavy, so it really does pull down on this side of the camera. And I'm already, if you can't see, basically this is slid over as far as possible this way to make room for the follow focus. I do have my microphone usually mounted here. Right now it's a little bit less than ideal, the weight I have here, but with the microphone everything balances out really well. But this gimbal is stretched to the limits as far as the space it can accommodate, which is why I've actually added spacers here if you can't see. Watch the Tilted G2X. By the way, if you're doing a gimbal, watch the Tilted G2X review, because whether you're using this gimbal or not, you're going to see a lot of things that you want to know if you've not tried something like all this together, because it's not as simple usually as just putting it all on, because there are space limitations. There are a lot of things that go into getting this set up just right, no matter what the manufacturers might say. It's not always that easy. So anyways, HDMI cable, I do recommend a really thin one. This one I kind of lucked out on. It had gold plated ends, so I kind of felt like maybe this is a quality one. It hasn't failed me. It seems to do fine. I've heard of some lower quality HDMI cables skipping frames. There's a little kangaroo that pops up in here, which, by the way, should be bigger or flashing Atomos. I highly recommend making that flash or bigger or brighter, because often I don't see that kangaroo. I usually only see it after unplugging or turning back on or something. I don't know why, but sometimes I do see the skippy, but I always kind of in the back of my head wonder, was I skipping frames? But the times I pay attention to it, I don't see it, so probably not. And I think that's about it for this. This is a little bit of a bumpy mini review. So I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you again, Yutaka Isaji, Yutaka Aritomi of Atomos. Thank you for the interview at CP Plus 2019 in Yokohama. Thank you for sending this to me. Thank you for sending me all the batteries so that I could go out and film doing Sakura, chasing around the cherry blossoms. That was the main purpose of getting the Ninja V for the G7. Highly recommend you watch the extended review. Lots of eye candy there. If you want to see some images from this, you're going to see a lot of really, really cool images out of this. So watch that review. Keep an eye out for all my other reviews. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to Personal Views YouTube channel. The interviews that I do at CP Plus and other things I do, a lot of it I do for Personal View. They send a lot of gear my way, and also check out their website. They absolutely have the best website for all things camera related, especially at the prosumer and professional level. There's a lot of professionals on that forum, on that website, so there's really a lot of really, really good information. If you're really serious about taking it to the next level, that's where you should be. And thank you again for watching. Yutaka Isaji-san, sumimasen, gomen nasai, dekita. It's coming back to you. Thank you very much. I think I got a concussion from that one.